The United Nations announces the salvage of Safar oil tanker to start by the end of May. Chairman of Presidential Council meets the 4 journalists recently released from Houthi prisons. Houthis continue to target populated areas in Taiz, and a child killed by a fire of a sniper. Good evening. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. I am Abir Ali and you're watching the English News. The United Nations announces that the salvage process of Safar oil tanker is expected to start by the end of this month. This announcement came after the arrival of substitute ship to Djibouti. According to the United Nations, the salvage process would cost $150 million. This report has more.
The UN announced that it's ready to begin the process of emptying the cargo of Safar tanker off the coast of Yemen. The 1.1 million barrels of oil kept on Safar will be discharged into a UN ship that has just arrived in Yemen. The duration of the operation would take up to 8 months, and it will require $148 million. The Smith Salvage Company will carry out the UN strategy. The first stage will deal with getting everything ready for unloading, including permits, staff, and equipment. Also, safety and medical protocols will be implemented to provide a secure working environment for employees. In March, the UN Development Program brought a crude carrier to transport the goods out of Safar tanker. Since the outbreak of Yemen's war in 2015, the ship hasn't received any maintenance and was abandoned near the coast of Hodeidah, which is a vital entrance for imports into the country and is highly reliant on essential foreign aid. The atmosphere that the oil cargo holds is likely to be dangerous because of the accumulation of the flammable cargo. According to Smith Salvage, this must be repaired by pumping inert gas into the holds by using a portable inert gas generator. In order to start the process of removing the oil, the tanks need to be checked and confirmed safe. Then they will move to the second phase of the plan, which will take up to 7 months to be done. The actual transfer of oil from ship to ship is projected to take 19 days. Several hydraulic pumps will be lowered into each tank, with all pumpable oil being pumped into the carrier. Throughout the transfer operation, inert gas will be provided to preserve the tank atmosphere at safe levels. The Safar's tanks will then be cleaned, and the remaining water will be put into the carrier. The entire on-site procedure is projected to take 2 months to complete. But even after all the oil will be taken from Safar, there will still be a tiny layer of heavy oil in the bottom of the tanks, and a lingering film on the walls. The tank's interiors will also be cleaned by using a mobile spray tank cleaning system. The carrier will then be transferred with the remaining contaminated water. Once the Safar is declared clean and empty, it will be prepared for towing to a green yard under the responsibility of the United Nations. This stage of the operation results in a clean and safe Safar tanker that can be dismantled at a designated site.
Chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council, Rashad Al-Alimi, received in Aden today the 4 journalists released recently from the Houthi prisons. Al-Alimi was briefed about the circumstances of the journalist abduction and disappearance and the types of brutal torture they were subjected to at the hands of militia leaders. The head of the PLC praised the liberated journalists, their courage and inspiring patience for their legendary steadfastness in the face of terrorist militias. Foreign Minister Ahmed bin Mubarak met today in Riyadh with the UAE ambassador to Yemen, Mohammed Al-Zabi. They discussed relations between the two countries and ways of developing them and coordinating positions on issues of common concern. The Emirati ambassador affirmed his country's support for the legitimate leadership represented by the Presidential Leadership Council and for everything that guarantees the security and stability of Yemen and fulfills the aspirations of the Yemeni people. He also stressed support of the international efforts being made to find a comprehensive political solution to end the Yemeni crisis. A human rights report documented the human rights violations committed by terrorist Houthi militia against the people of Hajur tribe. The report confirmed that many crimes of ethnic cleansing committed by the terrorist Houthi militia against the people of the Hajur tribe since 2011. The Houthi crimes varied between killing, field execution, displacement of families, bombing of homes, and the confiscation and looting of funds and lands. A child was killed by Houthi sniper in Makbana district west of Taiz. Local sources stated that a child was directly hit in the head by a Houthi sniper and died instantly while trying to take him to the hospital. Human rights groups confirmed that the Houthi militia is trying to hide the truth about the last stampede incident that took place in the capital Sana'a a month ago. The groups stressed the need to open an urgent, transparent, and independent investigation to reveal the truth of the tragic incident. This report has more details.
The terrorist Houthi militia is trying to hide the truth about the crime of killing more than 85 citizens in the stampede incident during the holy month of Ramadan in the capital Sana'a, which embodies the reality and the miserable life that people have reached under the Houthi starvation policy. Legal and human rights sources confirm that the militia seeks to falsify the truth by concealing and covering up the circumstances and details of the crime. The sources stress the need to open an urgent, transparent, impartial, and independent investigation to reveal the truth without militia interference or pressure on the progress of the investigation. They also demanded to provide a compensation for the victims and their relatives, and to provide remedy for the injured, also to punish those responsible for the crime, and ensure that criminals do not go unpunished. As staying silent about this horrific crime, ignoring it and delaying moving the crime file is no less heinous than committing the crime itself. The militia's efforts consider the disappearance and elimination of the crime file as an extension of the growing chaos and spread of crime, which forces the international community to put in place more effective measures and procedures to reduce violations and protect the affected and their families that are subjected to the brutal threat and blackmail of the militia. The sources stated that the Houthi militia is working to exploit the crime it caused, as it continues to prevent beneficiaries from distributing humanitarian aid and imposing harsh restrictions on humanitarian and charitable work on the poor and needy, in order to loot funds, institutions, and charities, and seize international aid and use it for war and its members. That is a flagrant violation against the Yemeni people and the persistence in starvation and humiliation. At a time when the militia is looting the people's money, building luxurious palaces, and establishing commercial and oil companies. The stampede incident is a clear indication of the situation that the Yemeni people have reached as a result of looting the salaries, revenues of institutions, ports and telecommunications companies, and the imposition of huge taxes and financial royalties against merchants, commercial institutions, and shop owners.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs launched the first flight to evacuate Yemeni nationals from the city of Port Sudan to Aden. The ministry said that about 865 citizens had previously been evacuated by sea to the city of Jeddah in coordination with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that work was underway to evacuate all the Yemenis wishing to return to the homeland. Coming up in the news. Houthis impose new high prices on domestic gas in the areas under their control. Welcome back. Power stations in Aden began to gradually decrease their production due to lack of fuel. The Electricity Corporation in the capital Aden renewed call for fuel without any response from authorities. It warned that the hours of shutdown and the reduction of operating hours would increase during the first day of general secondary exams. Houthis have imposed new prices on domestic gas in the areas under their control. The new high price has doubled the suffering of people who are already under hard living conditions. This report has more.
The Houthi militia raised the prices of domestic gas cylinders in the areas under their control by a large percentage, bringing them closer to their price on the black market, in conjunction with a new crisis created by the militia in the capital Sana'a and the rest of the governorates under its control. Sources confirmed that the ram-backed Houthi militia raised the price of 20-liter domestic gas cylinder from 5,500 Yemeni riyals to 7,500, bringing the rate of increase to 40%. The militia started selling the new price in May, which is distributed through the Yemeni company, while the price of commercial gas for the private companies has also increased, bringing the price of domestic gas cylinder from the private sector to 9,500 riyals. A new crisis is being fabricated by the militia in the capital Sana'a and the rest of the governorates under its control, as the militia fabricated it as a justification for raising the price of domestic gas cylinders. Observers consider this a competition between the Yemen Gas Company and the black markets, which have become close in price. As on the black market, the price is equivalent to the same price of a cylinder filled from the private sector. Houthi militia creates successive crises over all services in areas under its control, because of its large revenues, which generate huge amounts of money for it, without taking into account the difficult living conditions of citizens, amid the war that has been going on in Yemen for more than 9 years. According to the UN, Yemen's ongoing conflict has exacerbated humanitarian, economic, and environmental conditions, resulting in the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
Yemenis lack access to clear drinking water. In Abyan, citizens are forced to buy bottled drinking water as the regular water project is not functioning. But there are reports that this bottled water, not matching specifications, make it a threat to the people's health. This report has more details.
Many citizens of Abyan Governorate complain about the many damages and problems they are exposed to with those products of bottled drinking water, which have increased in popularity randomly during the recent period. At a time when many random water factories have spread in a number of districts of Abyan Governorate, the majority of these factories have become a major problem. Residents complain about its damage as the taste of its product is different. Its water is polluted and there is no label for each factory, in light of its lack of observance of standards and regulations for the safety of citizens' lives. This is what made the people demand the concerned authorities to intensify field and monitoring campaigns to those factories, so that the response comes from the Water Resources Authority in Abyan Governorate, which in turn assigned the technical team.
We are implementing field checks to make sure that the water is clean and healthy. We first came as we were receiving a lot of complaints from the citizens regarding the quality of this water. Our role is to collect samples for examination and make sure that the results match the health criteria and the water would be safe to drink without causing any harm to the citizens.
The campaign targeted the bottled drinking water factories and ice factories, as well as the process of preparing ice in malls and examining it in a way that guarantees the preservation of public health and the protection of consumers from this water.
We heard that the Water Resources Management sent teams from different stations to collect samples and examine the quality of the water. And they have arrested some of the violators. Some merchants are selling water bottles without knowing its source. This is a threat. Diseases may spread as a result of such products. We call on the General Water Authority and the Water Environment Department to take an action and control the production process.
Against the violating factories by the specialists is what the people are waiting for, in a way that works to solve this problem whose damage is increasing day after another. It also contributes to preserving their safety from it and its polluted waters.
In Hodeidah, people complained against the closure of the only health unit in Hais district. This closure deprived hundreds of families and children from receiving healthcare services.
Through an unjustified behavior, the health unit in the village of Sab'a in the city of Hais was closed by individuals who only care about chaos and disruption of health work, which caused people to be deprived of health and treatment services. A week has passed and there is no intervention by the concerned authorities to resume the work.
More than 10 areas are receiving health service from this unit. Now it's closed and people are being deprived from the service and from the vaccines. The only affected are those children. We have contacted competent authority to hold those responsible for the closure of the health unit, but with no response. Thanks God that we have a health unit that serves us and our children with treatment and baby food. Now, they have closed it and we do not know the reasons behind that. We call upon authorities to penalize those who deprive us from the health unit.
These mothers and their children came in search for treatment in this only facility, but they were disappointed and found nothing but heartbreak and remorse for what some people did due to a dispute that arose between health workers for self-interest, which led to the closure of the health unit, in addition to the sale of medicine illegally, according to local residents.
The babies cannot eat the regular food. They need the nutrients that are distributed through the unit. Why do they close the health unit? They have no right to do so. They closed the health unit without any justification. This is not justice. They sell the vaccines illegally. I have asked for a vaccine. They said it is sold by 5,000 riyals.
The question is raised by the people. What is the fault of the children who need services and health care when the health facility is closed? And why are they deprived of their most basic rights? This irresponsible behavior is considered a crime, punishable by law. The people are asking, where is the local security and judicial authority that can play its role in putting an end to such reckless behavior? And who is benefited from preventing people from this health facility?
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. The United Nations announces that salvage of sulfur oil tankers to start by the end of May. Chairman of Presidential Council meets the 4 journalists recently released from Houthi prisons. Houthi continue to target populated areas in Taiz and a child killed by fire of a sniper. This is the end of the news. It was Abir Ali and thank you for watching.